All right, hello. Welcome to the JeffCompass, or I might call it the JeffCompass, but I have not finalized the logo yet, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm JeffCompass. I'm joined by two friends from the EE podcast community, I guess. We have, you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I was going to let Ninja go first.
Oh,
but...
fair. I guess I'll go first. Hello, I am Ninja Star Compass. I am the real Compass. Jeff is an impersonator, obviously, so he'll be hearing from my Jeff Code lore.
I'm Carno. I am not a Compass, unfortunately, but only because I'm better. I have ascended, so.
Yeah.
Do you think LM2 is a good game? So
it is.
Actually,
I know what a good game is. I know what a good game is when I see it.
1 minute into the podcast.
All right, podcast over. No, okay. So, this is the first episode, so we're kind of just going with the flow. But we're basically gonna split this into three segments every week, or not week, but every month.
Damn.
Yeah, 52 episodes. Let's go. No. 5 minutes, or not 5 minutes necessarily, but the first portion is going to be, what games are you currently playing? You want to talk about any games you played in the past month?
Gotcha.
You,
okay, I'm
feel
currently
like mentioning.
I'm currently playing no games. All right, let's move on.
Great.
Good start.
Week one, first podcast, Ninja brings nothing to the table, typically.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess I've been playing the Pikmin 1 and 2. I've been catching up in preparation for Pikmin 4, so probably be playing Pikmin 3 for the first time soon. And
How
I got
are you
some
enjoying
other,
Pikmin 2? Because I've been seeing you play Pikmin 2 occasionally.
It's I have mixed feelings on it. I'm not a fan of Lava Caves.
Yeah.
I liked actually the time limit in Pikmin 1 just because it felt like almost more like an arcade experience where you were kind of speedrunning to see just how fast you could clear it. That's not nearly as much of a thing in Pikmin 2, but it's good. I still enjoy it, but I just think it's slightly below Pikmin 1 for me, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of the conclusion I came to. I'm curious what you'll think about Pikmin 3. Some people really like 3. I was kind of mixed on it, but I still like it.
Yeah, I've heard some mixed things about that, because they kind of try to bring back the day limit or whatnot, not from what I understand, with the juice, but from what I've heard, it's not that great at capping your time, so.
No, it's really, at the end of my first playthrough, I had 70 days left or something. It's you're gonna be fine.
My problem with 3 is that the collectible of just being fruit just isn't interesting. Because in Pikmin 1, you had the ship parts, which inherently made the game more fun to play than what you got. And then 2, you got cool stuff oh, here's a Nintendo trading card. Here's a Game & Watch, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering correctly.
We got blatant sponsored products. I love it.
It was interesting. You actually found cool stuff. So you actually wanted to find more stuff to see what it was. And 3 is just oh, it's a kiwi. It's all right.
That is true. One thing though is they do carry over. It's kind of a weird fact, but they do carry over fruit names from Pikmin 2 for ones that apply. There's a strawberry in Pikmin 2, and I forget what it's called. To be honest with you, but that treasure name gets carried over to Pikmin 3. But it's still, it's really not that exciting. Especially because you
less
find,
work. Let's go.
Yeah. I guess that's one thing. I don't know. I'm curious. We don't know anything about Pikmin 4, but I'm curious to see what they do. I assume it'll be back to treasures, because the first shot was a giant park, and I don't know. I feel like there was a stopwatch on the wall at one point that kind of looked like a treasure, but I could just be. I don't know. It could be stupid. Who knows?
Seems like Olimar won't be the main character again, so that'll be interesting. At least if judging from not one screenshot,
Well, it could be that could be one of multiple characters, or Olimar is just kind of later in the game, in Pikmin 3. I just realized I spoiled it for you. Sorry.
I kind of hope they abandon Olimar. because I feel like we've seen him too many times at this point.
I don't think they'll abandon him. I think he'll be in the game in some capacity.
Oh my god.
Olimar also is a far more likable character than, at least in Pikmin 2, yo. I'm not a Louis fan. I'm not a fan of just his. I know he's supposed to be like comedy, as a character, but
Carno, you have to beat the Pikmin 2 before you can comment on Louis. Is all I'm gonna say. You have to beat the whole game.
I know. I actually got spoiled on the ending cutscene, and it just made me hate him even more.
That's fair. Louis is a like or hate type of character. I think the president's the funniest one, to be honest.
The president's
never
funny.
Came back
Yeah, I like the president.
President's a good character.
I'm currently, as far as Pikmin 2 goes, I'm in this submerged castle. So I think I'm on like floor 5 or something. So I've got a ways to go probably, but I can see why that cave is so infamous now.
The thing is though, it's a nightmare to get through, but it is unfortunately one of if not the only cave that has like a unique gimmick to it. In the whole game.
Fair.
So people kind of like it for that reason.
I actually like it. I like it because cool. I kind of, as someone who is pretty shameless about resetting if I, mess up really badly, I kind of like optimizing each floor to get every part and then, get out of there before that thing comes in.
Yeah.
I kind of find that fun. So
I've actually gotten decent enough at Pikmin 2 over the years where it's for the first 3 stages I can completely get all the treasure without even activating the water wraith.
Yeah.
But that took me many years and many childhood traumas, so... As for games I've been playing this month, I got 2 games for Christmas. I got Splatoon 3, which, I'm going to be honest, it's fun. I don't really see why it exists over Splatoon 2. I was watching some Splatoon 2 gameplay recently. I forget why. I think it was just like a podcast style thing, and it was just playing Splatoon 2, and I was like, wow, this looks like the exact same game. It's fun. I'm having fun with it, but I don't know. I don't really see why it exists.
I got that vibes from Splatoon 3, which is why I kind of expected to, get all hyped up and buy the game day 1 or whatever. I was genuinely expecting to, but then when that day came, I was just like, you know what, this is just Splatoon 2.5, and which is kind of what Splatoon 2 was to Splatoon 1, but at least it was on a new console, and as someone who put 300 something hours into Splatoon 2, I very much enjoy that game. I made a whole video about why it's one of my favorite games on the Switch, maybe among Nintendo's entire catalog. It's just, I don't really feel like it's worth spending $60 to get the same game again, Yeah.
I got it as a gift. I got Splatoon 2 as a gift, actually, as well. 5 years ago for Christmas as well. So, I don't know. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or what, but yeah, I've been playing Splatoon 3. And it's kind of fun. I mean, it's fun. It's Splatoon. I have not played the single player. I've not been into any of the single player campaigns in Splatoon. So I was like, do I even want to bother with 3s? Although I heard 3 is good. I've also been playing Kirby Forgotten Land. And I'm almost done with the first world. And that game's really good. I could see it being a contender for my favorite Kirby game. Just on the basis that it's 3D, and I think Kirby needed to be 3D 20 plus years ago at this point. To be honest with you,
Kirby Star Ally should have been. I don't know. I'm not a Kirby fan. I have a friend who is a very big Kirby fan. I'm sure he loved the game. He's over the moon. I didn't pick it up though, but I hear it's very good. Very good.
Yeah. I beat Forgotten Land. It's actually very fun. I would argue it's one of my top 3 games of the year, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a good game so far. I'm only in World 1, just because I've not had that much time. But
it's pretty much. It definitely feels like a game that should come out 20 years ago. It's really good, but it's man, I'm surprised we're just now getting to this point.
Yeah, because graphics aside, it's I really feel like this game could have been on the GameCube, honestly.
I don't mind it. It's good.
No, it's a good game. I just feel like it should have been out a while ago, but because we've gotten so many kind of average Kirby games since then since like the 90s. Like we've gotten like Star Allies, which I heard wasn't very good, although I didn't play it. We got Return to Dreamland. I like that game, but I know some people are kind of whatever on it.
Well, hey, you'll get to replay it again in like a month. So
I will not be buying it, to be honest with you.
I will not be buying it. $60 for a 10-year-old Wii game just upscaled to HD.
That is already the worst game of the year. Like it's gonna be Bean, obviously, but it's already the worst game of the year so far.
Kirby's like getting like Pokemon level in terms of like releases. There's like didn't we get 2 Kirby games last year? Like, do we really need a Kirby port already? That was definitely like, oh god, we have nothing to release next year, guys. What do we do? At least in the slot. It's a good game. Like the base game is good, but I'm not gonna spend $60 on that.
Yeah, like it's literally a non-upgrade. It's like, yep. It's basically.
I don't even like. I thought the graphics kind of looked bad to some parts. Like I thought King DDD looked really bad for some reason.
You can
I'm
pretty
kind
much
of surprised, honestly. Sorry.
Go ahead. You go ahead. You start.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm surprised they haven't ported Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn from the 3DS. Like they already made that port in 2019. It made barely any sense to release it on the 3DS anyway, you know. But why did they put it on the Switch? I don't get it.
I don't know either.
I think most people forgot Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn came out, honestly.
Yeah,
because it was like 2019, like a 3DS.
Yeah, it's a 2019 3DS game.
I think it's impressive for the 3DS, but it's also confusing.
Yeah, that game and Mario Bowser's Inside Story, Nintendo was like, yeah, we're actually not gonna keep supporting 3DS, guys. Sorry.
It clearly was them just dumping whatever projects they had left, you know, because, you know, for the first year they knew like they were having the 3DS be like the failsafe for the Switch.
Yeah.
And then like by the end of 2017 they just stopped greenlighting any projects. So
yes, so everything that was already started was just getting released.
You know, it's like when they released Luigi's Mansion 1 on the 3DS. It's like,
everybody
why?
gets so mad about
just
that.
Why?
I got mad about that
Still
too.
mad about that. I'm mad about that because Nintendo very rarely will remake a game twice, if ever. So it's like, if it's getting a remake on the 3DS, like it's like Mario 64. We still have not gotten a remake since 64DS, so Nintendo does not remake games twice, which is fair to some degree. They're not, you know, Sony, no offense, who remakes every game they own for like PS3, PS4, and then the PS5 all in a row.
Well, you mean it's a built from the ground up remastered? You know,
Yes.
that's a $70 experience right there, Jeff.
Mhm.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But like, there's a middle ground. Like, but the thing is, I wish Nintendo would remake games more than once because 3DS is like, you know, very different than the Switch.
It is.
So LM's dead. It's just how it is.
Pretty much anything past 2016. And 2016 was probably the last, I would say, like, year where the 3DS actually got any quality titles. And even then, you know, 2016, they were starting to just, everything just kind of felt very half-hearted, you know.
I would argue Metroid from 2017 counts.
That's fair. WarioWare Gold, now that I think I about it.
There was like
2017 wasn't
Ultra
that
Sun
bad.
and Moon.
2017 was okay. It was
Ultra
like the last
Sun and
good year of the
Moon
3DS.
were games that I have opinions on Ultra Sun and Moon. I feel burned by them, but I will not go
Yeah.
into those here. I will not derail the podcast.
That's definitely
Fair.
if you didn't buy Sun and Moon, they're good. But if you played Sun and Moon, it's like rip.
All right, the next segment is you don't have to like leak any videos if you don't want, but what videos are you currently working on? And again, you don't have to say if you don't want, but if there's anything you want to like talk about or refer to, now is your chance to do it.
So I have several ideas, but I will say I'm working on my next Fallout chapter, so that'll be Banana Blitz. I'm having a fun. Writing the script has been a slow process because, you know, it's Banana Blitz. I'm digging so far into the main game, dissecting it. It's a process, you know.
It is. Someone who did a review in the HD version at least.
Yeah.
I got all my footage back in like August, and I'm still, I keep putting off finishing the script for that. I've been doing some other projects and whatnot. Like I just did the Pixel Pursuit collab on his channel and working on a couple other things. But yeah, that'll probably be the next main video I put out. Probably.
Yeah, I have videos I've been working on, but the problem is I'm always editing for somebody else.
Yes.
Like I'm
That
waiting
is
for Johnny
the
right
Ninja
now,
Star
so
type
it's like a
stuff.
rip. I gotta wait for that's done.
Yeah, I've been watching Ninja edit some stuff and looks pretty good. I have been working on the Drawn to Life video, which I've already announced multiple times. And by working on, I'm just basically in my like research / gameplay / notes phase, which I'll probably be in the rest of the month at minimum.
Fair.
That's been an interesting series to play, but I don't want to talk about that too much yet. And then there's one other video which I announced on my Patreon, sort of, and I'll just refer it to the same capacity here. I'm working on a Mario list video, and that's as much as I'll say, because I don't want the idea out there yet, because I think it's a unique idea, and it's going to take me like months to make. Cardno and Ninja know what I'm working on, but
Yeah.
it's I'm going to keep it under wraps for now. But I've been working kind of on that, and yeah, that's basically all I've been working on. But I do want to start recording gameplay for like stuff I might do later in the year while I have this free time in January. So
Fair.
I
I mean, to be fair, starting off the year with an entire series retrospective is a big thing to do. Just playing through like however many games Drawn to Life has,
There's 5. I've almost beaten the second as of right now, or I'm like at least halfway in. I'm waiting. There's a Wii game in the franchise, so I've been waiting for my nunchuck and Wiimote to get here, or nunchuck and sensor bar to get here. It's weird because the third game or the second or third, I guess, the sequel to the first game, Drawn to Life Next Chapter, has 2 versions. One is on DS, one is on Wii. The DS one is canon, the Wii one is not canon. So there's 2 sequels to that game, technically. I don't even know how I'm going to begin to talk about that, because that's just... So it's like, here's the sequel on Wii. It's not real. Whatever happens in that is not...
I know they also made like a bunch of mobile games too. I don't know if you'll be covering those, but...
Well, they're ports. The first they did a mobile game of the first game, and from what I understand, that was just a straight port. And then they did a mobile version on the most recent game, which people hated. So I don't know.
Great.
I have not played the newest Drawn to Life yet. I'm waiting to beat the other games first, but I heard everyone thinks that game's garbage. I don't know why. I will find out. I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm very curious, but I've been like avoiding like looking at reviews and stuff because I hate doing that for videos.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
I think that's kind of a rule we all have. It's like we refuse to watch like a video or review about like a video we're working on or whatnot, just because I think we've all had that experience where our opinions or something have been slightly like biased or changed because of a video we watched. So
my only exception is if it's like I'm late into a production of the video and I'm just kind of like, it's so on my mind, like I go to bed and I'm like still thinking about the video, and I'll just kind of watch it at that point because everything's kind of set in stone, and then I also just see if I like forgot anything. But yeah, during the writing fair I don't do that.
yeah, and it is kind of fun when you finish your video or you're finishing it and you kind of get to see like, all right, now it's time to see what everyone else thinks. That happened with me for my adventure videos. There were like 3 or 4 adventure videos I just binged right afterward.
There's a lot of adventure videos out there. It's kind of crazy. There's like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, there's like 4 40-minute reviews of adventure floating on the internet.
I was just gonna say that adventure reviews are very fun to watch because it's just like people being in pain for 40 minutes.
Ninja, for context, has never actually finished Adventure despite owning like 4 or 5 copies of the game.
Yeah, I own 3 copies of Adventure. Actually, I own 4 if you count the 2 PSP.
It's
versions.
really funny because Adventure, like even like 2 to 3 years ago, had no content. Basically, no content on the internet. No one cared. And I get it. It's Adventure. It's a bad game, but there was
Monkey
nothing.
Ball was
then,
already. The Monkey Ball already was like a niche series. Not many people made videos on it. I can think of like maybe one video that was actually like a good video about Monkey Ball that was, you know, kind of in the style that we do. Pixel Pursuit, I think, was the first one to actually like do full reviews of each game. And then, of course, you know, Jeff and I started our reviews. I think I was slightly earlier. Johnny started his reviews too, so it's kind of funny how everyone just decided spontaneously to make Monkey Ball content.
Yeah, you'll rip me off. I'll never forgive you.
It's your fault. You had a million years to make a sequel to your first videos.
I know. I'm just memeing.
No, I'm just saying. Ninja's video with Super Monkey Ball 1 is probably one of the most slept on videos on his channel. It's a very good video. I'm not just saying that because I'm in it. I'm probably the weakest part of it, to be honest. But it is a good video. I'm at a point with Monkey Ball reviews where every time I make one nowadays, I want it to be something different. So I'm kind of doing something experimental with Step and Roll, and I kind of did something experimental with Adventure. Because I'm at a point where I've already done 8 Monkey Ball reviews, 9 I think my playlist is at. So it's like, I almost kind of got sick of doing the same type of thing. And so every Monkey Ball video I make nowadays, I'm kind of just like, alright, what random direction can I take this in? So Adventure, I kind of made it not, no pun, but it was kind of like an adventure of the game. I just, it's not the most innovative thing. A lot of people have done it, but I just did it more what's the right word? Linearly. Yeah. More linear than my other videos. And then the Step and Roll video, I have some really dumb stuff planned for it that I've not finalized, but that should be a funny one.
I will say the funny part about reviewing a series with as many games as this, it's kind of become a joke among us. Where, since my Fallout series is kind of like a documentary style, you'll get to my newest videos before we start the video, this is part 8 or whatever, and by the end it's going to be part 16 or something insane, It's just, by the end it's just, I've guesstimated how long it'll be. The full series will probably be 4 or 5 hours by the end of it. It's going to be insanely long. So,
Adventure and Banana Blitz will be half of it at that point.
Pretty much. And Banana Mania. I will have a lot of stuff to say about Banana Mania.
Yeah, Banana Mania is an interesting one. I definitely was a little too positive in my review, although I still mostly agree with everything I've said. I was a little too happy, but you know what? It was my first time ever getting a review code, so I was probably biased.
Fair. I actually almost think that I wish I had formatted my review a bit different at the time, because I come off as pretty negative in that video, which is funny because as someone who has, I think, 200 something hours in Banana Mania at this point, it's funny that I have so many mixed feelings about it. You'd think I would, be over the moon, but it's just a very mixed experience, so it'll be interesting. That review will be a long one, unfortunately.
Yeah. If I covered Banana Mania, it would be pretty negative, I feel like.
Yeah.
I definitely have a more positive view of Banana Mania than Ninja.
I don't hate it, but a lot of it would be criticism. Pretty much all of it, to some degree, would be wow, this is fun, but it's also worse than this, It's
I think it's good, but I think I said this to Ninja literally today. How do you, it's still good, but how do you mess up a remake of Monkey Ball 1 and 2? How do you make it in some form worse? Because those games, I feel if you're given those to remake, you're given such a golden opportunity to make a banger. And Banana Mania isn't bad, but I wouldn't call it a banger, I'd call it a good game at best and not a masterpiece.
I don't know. So, when you mess up the controls on a literal marble game, that's the entire game there. You already ruined the entire game, off the bat.
I think I genuinely believe if they had more time and more of a budget, they could make it so much better. Even just a patch, even just a single patch to the game,
it would really
would raise it an entire point for me.
It really needed that. I think that was the thing in my review too. Is I kind of expected. I was all right, well, it has problems, but it'll get updates.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody's first impressions were very positive because you're expecting a 2.0 and what you got was nothing. So now you just left.
Every review is like, yeah, this game has problems, but I'm sure it'll get fixed with a patch. And then it's like, well, that didn't happen. So.
Yeah, that's mainly why I'm bitter. That's why my first video wasn't as negative.
Like,
Frontiers.
Like, I get Frontiers is Sonic, but it's getting like a whole year of fixes and content updates and stuff. And it's already gotten a few, like, since release. Monkey Ball, they're just like, yeah, we're actually not going to release anything, guys. Sorry. It's like, okay. Anyway, wow, let's turn into a Monkey Ball podcast.
It did. Within, like,
hello,
the first
welcome
30
to the
minutes,
EE podcast.
The EE podcast episode you've never seen.
Oh my god.
But I guess we can segue into the main topic of the video.
Speaking about franchises that are lacking potential and are in a bad situation.
Speaking about a game that needs an update more than anything. Today we're going to talk a bit about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet because me and Ninja recently did our Pokemon Legends Arceus video. So just to go along with that theme, I figured the first episode of the podcast will kind of correlate alongside that and just Scarlet and Violet. And it's like, is it a dead topic, or not dead topic, but is it a dead horse by now? It is to some degree, but I don't feel bad about it because I think this game needs to be talked about, which is the main reason I don't feel guilty bringing it up, because the game sold 10 million copies in a few days and has not gotten any significant patches. So Carno, I know you have not played it yet. I know Ninja, you played like a little bit of it.
Of what? Scarlet and Violet?
Yeah.
Oh, I've played a good amount of it. I've been free gyms, so.
Give us your thoughts on the game. Like, give us like a mini improv review almost.
The problem with the game. Okay, let me say this. Okay. It feels like they took Soul and Shield and then they literally just plopped you in an open area and then that's it. Like, that's the problem. Because, like, it doesn't feel like it's tailored to be an open world game by design. Like, in Legends Arceus, like, there's obviously a million mechanics that are in the game in order to complement that, like the crafting and obviously the live catching and all that. But, like, in Scarlet and Violet, it just feels like here's Pokemon, but the map is bigger. So it just feels empty and, like, lifeless most of the time. So, like, literally all you do is run around, like, these empty fields just full of a bunch of Pokemon, and you have to manually catch them again. And then, like, the only thing they give you as far as open world design is, like, the auto battle. But even then, it's very jank to use. And, like, it's just not that fun. It just feels like a thing that they slapped on the last minute to make it kind of playable. And aside from that, it's just like your basic Pokemon, like, garbage. You just go to a gym, talk to a gym leader, beat them, and move on. Like, there's some sense of, like, I don't know, there's some stuff to do, like there's the camps you can raid, but it's not that interesting. It's basically just, like, just stuff to distract from the fact that the game has nothing else in it. I don't know, it just feels like Soul and Shield, but bigger, as opposed to, like, an open world Pokemon. Like, I feel like Arceus is still a much better open world experience, you know, it's not even open world.
It's very interesting, because there's a part of me that wants to really be excited, like, that wants me to, you know, be hyped for Scarlet and Violet and get the game, but, like, I just can't bring myself to do it. I think part of it is just that Pokemon itch was scratched by Sword and Shield and Pokemon PLA, you know? It was just, I just can't bring myself, and then seeing the state of the game, you know? Is that something you really want to buy, you know?
See, here's the funny thing. I don't know if this is that funny. I have friends in another Discord, and they will play Scarlet and Violet, at least near to launch. I don't know if they've been playing it that much. They love the game. They were playing it all the time. They collected their Pokédex within a few days. They were doing all the raid battles, the Terra battles, whatever. So it's crazy to me because I really don't think the game is, you know, the best thing ever. But there's people who genuinely, it doesn't bother them at all. And it's kind of making me take a step back and think about, like, gaming as a whole. It's like, am I being too harsh on this game just because it runs bad? Because I played it. I spent 30 hours on it in my playthrough, and I had a okay time. There were high points, there were low points, but I don't know. The more time I kind of reflect on my playthrough, the more I'm like, this game kind of sucks, which I feel bad about saying, but I don't know.
You know, different strokes for different folks. I think there's something to be said for, you know, us having entire channels dedicated to critiquing games. We kind of have an eye for that sort of thing. I guess, you know, we're kind of almost looking for things to comment about it. But, you know, sometimes I had a similar experience with Sword and Shield where, like, are they great games? Not necessarily. But I had a fun enough time with them. I actually, you know, made a amateur competitive team. I made decent, you know, progress on filling out my Pokedex. I went shiny hunting. I had a fun time with it. And it was only when looking back when I realized, you know, maybe this game isn't the best game on the planet, but for what it's worth, I think I had a fun enough time with it, you know? It's very interesting how, you know, being so much on social media and sharing experiences like that can really make you look at games differently.
Yeah. It's interesting because Scarlet and Violet and Sword and Shield almost feel like two sides of a coin to me, where I think both game is flawed, but for different reasons. Because you have Sword and Shield, which I personally think from like a game design perspective wasn't that well thought out. I know competitive battling is a big, you know, thing in that game, so if you enjoy that, you're probably gonna like the game more. And then you have Scarlet and Violet, which I was like, all right, this has potential, but they executed it horribly. So I almost felt like those two games were like a yin and yang of unfinished, almost. Where I was like, I dislike both of these games, kind of, but for different reasons. I don't know. I fall short of calling Scarlet and Violet bad, and in fact, in the PLA video, I did call them good games multiple times. And I'm still sticking by that, but it's like, I'd say that opinion's slowly lowering day by day, where I'm like, yeah, it's good. At first I was like, yeah, it's good. And now I'm like, yeah, it's good, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say it's bad. Like, I literally have no drive to play it, except for the fact that it's multiplayer. Like, if it wasn't multiplayer, I would have dropped it like 10 hours ago. Like, honestly.
The multiplayer is interesting.
It's just woefully boring, because, like, literally all there is to do is catch Pokemon and do gyms. Like, there's literally nothing else to do in that game. You can buy sandwich ingredients from the shop. Wow, good job, guys. Like, there's just nothing to do. Like, even Sword and Shield technically had stuff to do. Like, I guess I don't know.
There's no side quests.
You had stuff. You had like the wild area you could go.
Yeah, like at least the wild area was kind of okay to explore. It was very basic, but it was still kind of something, you know?
Yeah.
I think the weirdest thing to me about Scarlet and Violet is there's no side quests, and I didn't even realize that until I forget which video I was watching. It was like a few weeks ago, and one of the complaints was like, "There's no side quests in this game," and I really like took a step back and thought about it, and I was like, "Yeah, there really aren't side quests in a whole open world video game." Like,
I saw a tweet. I saw a tweet about it. I was like, "Wait a minute, you're right."
Like, Sword and Shield, I don't really remember, but I assume that game had side quests. Like, I don't remember it not having side quests.
Sword and Shield, I don't recall actually there being.
There's probably no side quests in that game, to be fair.
But at least with that game, it's like, you know, straight lines, I guess. Whereas Scarlet and Violet's like open, and it's like you think back to like any open world game. You think back to like Skyrim. You think to like even GTA. You think to Zelda. I mean, Zelda's not really always open world, but you get what I mean. You know,
even
adventure.
Mario 64 and the N64 had secret stores and the 100 coin stores. Like, there was still stuff to do that wasn't directly told you.
That the 100 coin stars weren't that good content, but you know.
Well, the thing is, a fundamental point of like action adventure games or open world games is like, sure, you have a story, but are you really just gonna want to do like the story and do nothing else in the game? Like, no, like side quests are fun. In PLA, you know, I know we just spent 2 months of our lives comparing PLA to Scarlet and Violet, but like it's true, PLA had over 120, I think, side quests, or maybe a little less. It might have been like 110. There were a lot of side quests in that game, and not all of them are good, but like it's a side distraction. You know, sometimes after like you fight a noble, you're like, all right, let me just spend like an hour catching Pokemon from this one person, and I think that adds a lot to the game. I did most of them in my first playthrough. Not all of them.
Plus, in PLA, you get stuff like customization, which doesn't really exist in Scarlet and Violet. Like, at least you get like clothes and stuff for doing side quests. In Scarlet and Violet, you have to wear the same like 3 outfits the entire game. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Even Sword and Shield had like different uniforms and
it's also had a good customization, like actually good customization.
The only thing I'd say is I heard X and Y has the best customization in the series. I don't know if that's true. I did not play X and Y.
I have not played X and Y, so I cannot tell you.
We have 3 people
doubt
here.
It, but
we have 3 people here who have not played X and Y, but yet I brought up an X and Y point. But I haven't played it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going for here.
So I don't know.
I did play Sun and Moon. Their customization system there, from what I understand, was very close to X and Y. It was pretty good. It was had pretty much everything you'd want. So
I have to give Sun and Moon another chance one of these. It's kind of off topic, but I do have to give that game another chance because like I have so many people who are like, Sun and Moon's a great game if you get past the tech smashing and stuff, and I was like, when I played it, I had a bad time, I'll be honest. I just was not enjoying the story because of how slow it was, but I'm like, I hear enough good said about it where I'm like, alright, maybe I will replay this game.
Maybe I'll play some Sun after the podcast.
Past the first island, which is basically one long tutorial, I'd say base Sun and Moon are great games. Ultra Sun and Moon, well, okay, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but I would suggest anyone play base Sun and Moon over Ultra Sun and Moon. So
yeah,
just for the story alone.
I know people that would disagree.
Well, yeah, but they're wrong. So
I will say, in terms of like the whole button mashing tutorial thing, that is a complaint I actually have with Scarlet and Violet, which everyone's like, oh, it's an open world experience, it's an open world Pokemon game, and it is, but you still have I'd say probably 3 hours of tutorials and stuff at the very beginning of the game.
So
and
bad.
It's like, oh, it's only the start. Oh, it's only like, even if, let's say it's even 2 hours, because I might have been over-exaggerating. I can't remember. Let's say, oh, it's even 2 hours. The game is like 20 hours long, maybe a little more. That's like a tenth of the game that you're just pressing the A button to, like, I don't know. I thought that was something that actually wasn't talked about enough, honestly.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's also still a big part of the game. Like, if it was like 2 hours of boring, bland gameplay at the end of the game, everyone would be talking about it, It's 2 hours. Yeah. That's a big point.
I will go on a bit of a tangent to point out how whenever Pokemon has like 5 hours of tutorials at the beginning, everybody's like, oh, it's fine. Who cares if you're just forced to go in a straight line for like an hour? It's okay. But when Sonic Frontiers has like one tiny area to introduce you to like 2 mechanics, people are like, oh my god, it's an open world game, guys. I can't believe it. They restrict you in an open world game. It's like, alright, guys, whatever. I don't like double standards in the gaming industry. I don't know.
Well, I'm sad to tell you, but humanity is double standards is their MO. So.
I know. I will complain about it though. It's not gonna stop me.
To be fair, PLA also kind of struggled with tutorials. I thought that game's first area was very, very tutorial heavy. I know, Cardno, that was one of your complaints.
That's fair,
I
but
agree.
I will semi-defend it because at least PLA has story during that part. It isn't like, here's a Pokemon. Do you know how a Pokemon works? The wonderful, whatever. It's like, in Scarlet and Violet, it's literally the same garbage in every single Pokemon game. Like, at the least PLA attempts to tell, like, a story with it.
Also with PLA is that it's your new controls. Like, there's never been live catching in a Pokemon game before. But Scarlet and Violet's back to the old gameplay, which, we don't have to get into that. But if it's old gameplay, do you need a tutorial for it? As much as you need a tutorial for PLA mechanics? No. At least have an option.
Actually, yeah. And as far as like the way PLA changed the series, I do think it made lots of good changes. For context, I am actually have of the somewhat controversial opinion that PLA, it's good, it's good, but it's not like as great as I think Ninja and Jeff say it is. So, but I do like it. It's just I think the story was very
That's fair.
I feel like they want to tell a good story. They want to have emotional moments, but the game is just so when it cuts to black for any animation, when the graphics look like they belong on the GameCube, you try to have these cinematic moments and it just doesn't work at all. There's this part later on in the game, I won't spoil it, but it was supposed to be this sad moment, this heavy moment, and you're alone in this field and a Pokemon runs up to you and you turn around and it zooms in on your face, which is 2 pixels big. You can see each individual pixel on the smile, and I'm just I can't get emotional over this. Not to mention that it's not very well written, but it's just I don't know. PLA was just
my favorite part of PLA is when there's this one guy on the giant ice cube that's I'm gonna jump off this ice cube, don't do what I'm about to do, and there's a whole paragraph where he's gearing up for him about to jump off the ice cube, and it just fades to black. I'm why did you spend this much time telling me you're gonna jump off this rock and then don't show it?
One thing I do want to say, I actually prefer the story in Scarlet and Violet to PLA, and I wish I talked about this in the video. I actually think the story in Scarlet and Violet is better than PLA by at least a little bit. Now, it's not it's not Shakespeare. It's not the best writing of all time. It's just, it's fine. But I actually thought it was better. I thought the characters were memorable. I thought there were at least a few more plot twists, a few more hooks. I kind of wish I spent more time talking about this in PLA. In fact, me and Ninja in our PLA commentary were talking about how we probably could have talked about a lot more things, and I think I wish I was a little more critical of the story. I don't think the story's that good in PLA. I don't play PLA for the story, at least, so I don't really care that much. It didn't ruin the experience for me, but I will admit I think Scarlet and Violet had the better story of the two games. Not by insane margins, but at least by a decent bit.
I will say I've played 3 gyms worth of Scarlet and Violet, and I have no idea what the story is, so I don't know what that says about the game.
So here's Scarlet and Violet. I'll agree the pacing has problems. 10% of the story is from where you are to Gym 8, and then 90% of the story is with the Titan stuff, the Titan path, and then Endgame. It's basically most of it. There's a little story with Team Stars, I think. So it's a little awkward. But
I think the best way I would explain, I think the best way I would explain PLA's story was there was an attempt, which is a bit sad to say, but there was an attempt. Then again, it also makes Sword and Shield story look like next to Sword and Shield, it looks like a great story,
Sword and Shield
I was
story.
very disappointed in that game, but
Sword and Shield story is it might be the worst in the franchise. I think it's
it might
be. Game even have a story.
It's just no, everyone from the
villain
second,
with no.
Yeah.
It was so by the numbers that it was almost like a plot twist of its own. You expected there to be a plot twist, and the fact that there wasn't was a plot twist in and of itself.
I love how we keep going away from Scarlet and Violet just to complain about Pokemon again.
Well, it's really hard talking about Pokemon in 2023. I almost said 2022. It's really hard talking about Pokemon this year when it's without mentioning every other Pokemon game, and that happened in the video. Me and Ninja, in my parts, I referenced literally every Pokemon game at least at one point. The Switch games more. I have footage of every Pokemon game, and I literally mean every Pokemon game in my assets folder from that. I referenced Red, I referenced Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5. I referenced every generation. I referenced Channel, I referenced Coliseum. Ninja referenced Snap and Dash. Talking about Pokemon, you're going to mention other games. You're just going to. It's really hard not. I don't know why it's like that. but it is. It just is.
It's because the entire series is just slight variations on the same formula. So you have to pull up different entries because, it's not Pokemon is in the unique position where it hardly even builds on itself each generation. It doesn't. It just slightly changes things and then throws them out the next second,
Yeah.
So you kind of have to.
What do you guys think of, on that note, on introducing things and throwing them out in the next second, what do you guys think of Terralista? I don't even know how to pronounce it, but the new gimmick, Terrastalization, the new gimmick. What are your thoughts? I know you haven't played the game card, no, but...
I think it's the weakest Mega Evolution clone they've done so far. Like, it literally barely matters, because half the Pokemon, it does nothing for, and then when it does, it's like, wow, it's a fire type, wow. Like, it's not interesting. I literally avoid it, just because the animation makes the fight take longer, and I don't want it any longer. Which says a lot about the mechanic.
As someone who hasn't played the game, it looks cool, it sounds like a cool concept with changing types. It is very blatantly a Mega Evolution clone. I'd almost say, like, I'd prefer it to Dynamax and everything but a Spectacle, I put it about on the same tier as Z moves as far as, like, appeal, I guess.
Yeah.
Z moves, yeah.
Z moves were very interesting. It's very funny when they have to use the same animation for different Pokemon models, but they didn't. So, it's just you have the infamous Twinkle Tackle with this legendary Pokemon. It looks so bad.
If I just straight up forgot to animate it and just hope that no one noticed.
I think the thing I don't like about Terralisizing, I cannot say that word. I'm sorry. There's some words I cannot say. I can't say the word.
Just say Terra types.
The problem I have with Terra types is it's so cookie cutter because in previous games like Mega Evolutions were, they designed new forms for the Pokemon. That's cool. I honestly I don't really remember Z moves at all, so I can't even really comment. But Gigantamaxing, they made sure some of them were literally just taking the Photoshop tool and just scaling it up, but some of them did have new forms. Whereas the Terra types, every Pokemon just get if it's a fire type, it just gets like a little crown that has like a flame on it. It's not, and that they do that for every Pokemon.
I do agree.
So it's like I feel like it really stifled any sort of creativity. Like, how cool would it be if it was like, oh, here's like a fire type Pikachu, and it's like it has like flames coming out of it or something. But instead, it's like really cookie cutter and lazy because it's like the Terra types aren't interesting at a certain point because how every Terra type's gonna look. It's just like, all right, here's a Pikachu with a hat that says flames on it. Doesn't even change like Pikachu like red or something. Like making Pikachu like look red or something at least.
Yeah,
if it was a fire type.
And like even like flying types, it just gives them balloons.
It's just weird.
I think pretty much the only good thing about it is that the raid battles look slightly prettier. That's literally it.
I don't enjoy the raid battles. I don't know if it was just me, and I think it might just be me because I know a lot of people who enjoyed it.
I only use raid battles so I can level up my Pokemon quicker so I can play the game less. Not even joking. Not even joking. That's the best use of raid battles is to skip playing the game more.
Here's my problem.
The opening world is very boring.
The raid battles, it's just so many cutscenes, and it's the same thing with Terra types in the wild. It's always like in the wild, you're like, oh, a Terra type Pokemon. Let me just avoid this because it's literally like a 20-second cutscene before the fight even starts. I'm not even joking.
The joy of Scarlet and Violet is finding ways to avoid making the game take longer because you don't like playing it.
Yeah.
Because the game, for example, we should probably get into performance. The game runs like a dream. It really does. It's my favorite Switch game.
It's been said a lot. It's been talked about a lot. But also, like I said earlier, I think it deserves to be talked about, even if it's a bit extensive, because this, in my opinion, should not be forgotten. It should not be. They're not going to get punished for it financially, so it's like, I think it's fair game to talk about it, even if it's been said a lot. I don't care. It's a dead horse, but the performance is abysmal. Like literally, in terms of like for the time, might be one of the worst games I've ever played performance-wise. At least for like the time it was released. Because obviously there's like N64 games that run worse, obviously, but like.
I'll give Game Freak some credit. I know they're trying to take Pokemon in a new direction, but I'm surprised they kept it. I'm glad they're trying to improve the cinematic elements of the game by making it run at 24 FPS the entire time.
See, at least make it a consistent 24 FPS, because it goes below that sometimes,
Yeah, the frame rate literally like jumps like a fucking trampoline the entire time for the
game. What's your
30 to 20 to 24 to 30 to 20 to 24?
Well, as an outsider who has not played the game yet, Card, who has just seen footage, what's your opinion on all of that? Because you have not played the game.
So. It looks abominable, and I know with these types of games, it's the case where like what you're seeing often is highlighted clips. But I did see Ninja play it for a bit, it was so easy to break the game. It was so clearly rushed. I would, the fact that it just runs as poorly as it does, I would say that it's kind of embarrassing. I would say these games are more of an embarrassment than Sword and Shield. Because Sword and Shield at least functioned as intended,
Yeah, Sword and Shield's biggest crime was being the same old garbage. Well, Sword and Shield is like a unique evil. It's like, wow, you literally just straight up did not finish the game.
Like, from a performance perspective, or graphics perspective, whatever, the biggest crime Sword and Shield has is, like, a tree. Like, it'll have, like, the worst texture I've ever seen. It's like, okay.
You don't see cliffs with, like, the same, the same texture, like, laid all across it. It looks like, what was it? It was like Monkey Ball Adventure. Wow, we're gonna call back to that game again. I guess that's just the bane of my existence is Monkey Ball Adventure. But, when it reminds me of when you're on Jungle Island and you're looking across the ocean, and it's just one texture just repeated in squares all across. That it looks like that, but almost worse because it's like a cliff,
Yeah.
I respect that they're harkening back to Sonic Adventure 1. I respect the old school approach.
It's... And, I'm not even going to say Sword and Shield ran perfectly, because there were still things I disliked about that game's, performance.
The game had the worst pop-in ever.
The pop-in was bad. The pop-in was really bad, and...
Particularly when you connected online.
One pet peeve I had, and I don't even know if we really want to count this as a performance issue, but, like, when you're in the wild area, I really don't like... It's not really a performance issue. I guess it's a design perspective, but it still breaks the immersion when you're like walking and then you take 2 steps and all of a sudden there's just like a giant snowstorm. That kind of bothered me. I don't. That doesn't qualify as performance though. To be completely fair, it's just like a weird choice, I guess. But it might have been performance.
Sword and Shield, the draw distance in Sword and Shield is a shorter amount of distance, and YouTube recommends my fucking videos. It's really bad.
Ooh.
Man.
So it's not to say Sword and Shield was like, the best running game ever. In fact, I would argue the reason it runs as well as it does is because it's a 3DS game, to be honest with you, and on the Switch, which means that it's
they also knew how to hide stuff like that, Like I think the fact that so many of the routes are short and like, it has loading screens and whatnot, I think it's because they knew their limitations. So, like, that's probably the best they could do, which sounds kind of
really
pathetic,
sad.
but it is. But, like, at least it works. At least it works, It
runs,
at least you don't have to, go through menus to go through different rooms in a single building,
And I wish they modeled the inside of buildings in that game, And I think it's the small things.
It's really interesting, because I've played some really bad games that I think run fine and look fine. I don't know, it's just interesting because like Scarlet and Violet's basically the opposite, where I'm like, there's a good game somewhere in here, but it's so... And you know what really pisses me off too? It seemed like this game was actually going to get fixed at one point. it really seemed like Nintendo tweeted out, not Game Freak, Nintendo, who I don't even know really developed the games at all, technically. They tweeted out, "We're sorry, we're hearing you guys have issues with the performance. We're going to work to make it better." The next day, they released a patch. It did nothing to solve any problems. And we haven't heard anything since then. And you might think, oh, it's still been a relatively short amount of time. That update, I believe, was like 40 days ago or something. It was over a month ago at the very minimum. It's been a while. So now I guess that's the next question. Do you guys think this game isn't going to get patched at all?
You know what? Maybe the big Nintendo holiday title for this year will be them fixing the game.
Scarlet Violet, the improved
the thing
edition.
is, they'll have to update the game to include DLC. So I'm sure what it'll be is like there'll be like a big update where it'll be like not only is it has fixes, but you also now have a button in the main menu to buy DLC like in Sword and Shield.
Yeah, my headcanon was always that they would advertise the performance upgrade with like a DLC feature. It's like, oh, we did it, guys.
They won't call it bad. They won't
DLC?
call it the original bad. They'll call it like the improved edition. Like on the back of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it says like all improved battle mode instead of just saying like, yeah, the last battle mode
We
was
actually
shit.
made a good battle mode.
They're not going to admit that it's bad because companies never do that. But they might call it like the deluxe.
More specifically,
edition.
Nintendo doesn't do that.
Yeah.
There are companies that do, but certainly not Nintendo.
So they won't call it like the fixed Scarlet and Violet. They'll call it like the deluxe performance mode or something like that.
Performance improvements or something. Like, it would
like
be
this
very
is-
vague about it.
So we'll see. You know what I think the most bizarre thing about the whole single patch was that I don't mean to call any channels out, but I'm just gonna call them out. Game
You
Explain
do it anyway.
made a video the day it came out, and the guy was like, "Dude, this game's running so much better." I really don't know what was up with it. He was like, "This game's running so much better." He was like showing off things, but he was like purposely not talking about like pop-in that was still happening. And I'm like, and no other
that
video,
copium.
no one else corroborated with it. No one else not a single other person backed it up. Every other reviewer I saw thought it was full of crap. And I'm just like, why did you make that video?
I want to say there was some like minor drama around that too. That was funny.
It's
I remember
deserved,
that. I
though.
remember
It's
some
like-
videos being made.
You basically just made a video lying to everyone. Either you're lying or you're just oblivious, I guess. Like, I don't know. Or it's a placebo
pretty
effect.
I'm pretty convinced it's clickbait.
Could be, yeah. But, like, Game Explain, I don't want to get into their whole thing right now, but if they're trying to, like, build a, reputation up again, they probably shouldn't release videos like that. That just pissed me off. I don't know. I don't know if the guy's, like, a huge Pokemon fan. I don't know anything about him. I'm sure he means well, but, like, I don't know,
Probably
man.
helped write the Sword and Shield review, the 9.3 out of 10.
That was IGN, so it's just, I think it speaks to a greater thing, though, where it's like game reviewers are really scared to talk bad about Pokemon, and I was actually really amazed IGN gave Scarlet and Violet like a 7 or something.
I think the feature was a
I think I
6,
had the 6.
Oh, wow. That's even worse than I remember.
which is pretty bold, to be fair.
Pretty bold. I agree with it. I mean, I'd say 6 is probably where I put the game. Maybe a little...
I give it like a 4, honestly, but that's just me.
Yeah. So it's just weird,
I go
though.
like-
There's a lot of journalists and people who are still like, they refuse to accept that this game is bad. They refuse to take criticism with it. And it happens every Pokemon game. But
Yeah.
to varying
Yeah,
degrees.
I literally saw a website saying for Sword and Shield, like for beta, I don't know what the quote is, but it was saying like, this is, I need to find the but it's like, this is the beauty of video gaming or something. It was like something like a really like overarching and like snobby about Sword and Shield being like the best game ever or something.
So, I
This
don't
is what
know.
video games were meant to be. It's like, what? About Sword and Shield? Excuse me?
So I'm sure the Game Explain person didn't mean bad by it, but as a whole, it's just like, what is happening with these games? Like, why aren't we allowed to critique these games?
Jeff is just
I-
trying to start drama.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'll stand by whatever I say. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy to me. I didn't see anyone else defending the patch, unless I just missed something. I played the patch the day it came out, and I was like, this game is the exact same as it was before.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed.
There was not a single thing. Like, I could understand if they can't make the whole game better in one patch. but like at least fix like the NPCs and the classrooms or something. Like do something at all.
I guarantee what's gonna happen is that they're gonna try to fix it, then they're gonna realize it's too much work, and they're just gonna say nothing and move on.
See, the optimistic view right now is that the patch is taking a while because they need time to work on it. That's the optimistic view. And that's fair, if true. The pessimistic view, the view I'm more inclined to believe, is that they're just not going to fix the game.
I think they'll have to fix it to some extent, because if they're going to be building DLC on it, you have to have at least some structure to build your DLC on. And if they release DLC on such an I have a feeling that game is running on sticks and duct tape. You know,
it's definitely spaghetti coated.
That game is on the brink
heaven.
of collapsing at any moment. If they heap any more DLC on that, then like everyone's switches will spontaneously combust or something. You know, it will be a disaster. They have to fix it to some extent.
Like the fact that game even runs at all is kind of a miracle, to be honest.
Yeah, and I've heard rumors that it's running on the X and Y engine. I don't know if that's true or not.
I believe it. 100% believe it.
But
with the way it runs,
it looks like it. I'll say that much. It does look like it to some degree. So yeah, that's Scarlet and Violet. I guess I'll ask you guys have any like final thoughts on Pokemon or the game, or I don't know.
Gimme Go is based in Epic, and I like the.
That's a good point. Sorry.
I like the Tumbleweed Pokemon too. That was pretty cool too.
The Pokemon designs were good.
Ones. Yeah.
I actually like the Pokemon designs. From what you've seen, Cardno, do you like the Pokemon designs?
I think they're cool.
I mean, they're good.
I'm not huge on like the starter evolutions, but yeah, I think they're good overall. You know, it's just. Then again, I actually didn't mind a lot. I think Sword and Shield had a lot of dumb Pokemon, but I think it had its fair share of cool ones too. So.
I don't know. I think Sun Shield was kind of a weak generation as far as Pokemon designs go. I feel like they were kind
I thought the starters.
I liked Inteleon. I'll admit, I liked Inteleon.
Inteleon's fine. It's okay.
I just felt like
I know a lot of people didn't like him.
I feel like Sword and Shield just had like a bunch of like ugly Pokemon. It was kind of, I don't know why. There was like Choodle, which I thought was.
Ew. In fact, I like how they brought back Choodle. It's like the worst Pokemon. They just brought back.
They brought back Choodle, but like the other ugly designs, I'm trying to remember. There was like a troll Pokemon, like a gremlin type
There's
of thing.
like a coal mine, like a minecart Pokemon.
It's like...
Let's go, gremlin.
I at least regained a bit of hope when I saw the Scarlet and Violet Pokemon, because I'm like, alright, these ones are mostly good. There's still a few, bad ones in there. There's some good Pokemon in this group. There's I liked the dog, like the ghost dog. I forget its name, even though I used it on my team. But I also like named them instantly, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
There, you can't go wrong with dog Pokemon. They always like introduce a few like puppy Pokemon every generation. They're usually good.
Yeah, except for Soul and Shield, it's literally just here's a corgi but yellow. It's like, good job, guys. Get paid for that. Let's go.
But there were some good Pokemon, but the thing about me that's weird at this point is like I've not played X and Y. I barely played Sun and Moon. I barely played. Well, I beat Sword and Shield. I just don't remember any of the Pokemon. Or I almost beat Sword and Shield. I don't remember most of the Pokemon. So it's like every time I'm playing Scarlet and Violet, I'm like, oh, this Pokemon's really cool. And then I like look it up and I'm like, oh, this Pokemon debuted in X and Y.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I guess we'll start wrapping it up. I don't know. Do you guys have any final opinions, thoughts, feelings on the game?
I don't know. PLA better plus ratio.
I guess me and Ninja have already spent 2 hours talking about it. So go watch that video, and then I guess we'll ask Carno what your opinions are.
Yeah, and again, I probably do have the most unpopular opinion about PLA, but even I will say, it's not like I don't hate the game. I think it's good. It's again, playing PLA is what made me not play Scarlet and Violet. It's like, well, I already got my Pokemon fix this year,
Yes.
That is a problem. That is a huge problem. And that, in a span of a year, if you want to go a little back, technically BDSP came out 2 months before that, so people are Pokemon. I'm sick of Pokemon. I was actually getting back into Pokemon a bit because of all PLA and all the games, and I was like, all right, I'm starting to enjoy this again. And I'm just like, I don't know, I just have not wanted to go back to any Pokemon game for a while now.
Maybe this is like a pessimistic note to end on, but Sword and Shield, everyone thought like, man, this is so like, shamelessly lazy, like this is the worst it can get.
Yeah.
And then BDSP released, and everyone's like, man, this is a tile for tile garbage remake. Can this get any worse? And now we have a game that's not even functional. And they say, man, this is the bare bones. Can it get any worse?
Really?
So what's the next step?
I'm excited.
Are we going to have like Gen 5 remakes, but like they're going to be black and white on the Game Boy? And like you're just going to see like half the screen just cuts out randomly or whatever? You're just going to enter like the Castella City and all the skyscrapers are just gonna be like missing or whatever.
It's gonna be like big
Excited
rigs.
for the spaghetti code.
It's like gonna be like big rigs over the road racing. It's like it's gonna be like it's gonna be barely functional as a game. And then like the next generation, you're gonna turn on the Switch and it just explodes and there's just no game. That's honestly the trajectory we're going down. So.
It's gonna be, you're gonna turn on the next Pokemon and it's just gonna be like a Microsoft DOS game or whatever, like a text-based adventure.
It's just like Pong. But yeah, that's a good note.
I hope it improves, but
Yeah.
Well,
how much lower will this franchise go?
At the very least, I don't think there will be a new Pokemon game this year because they're just gonna do the DLC. So. At a very minimum, the next game will technically have 2 years of development. Woo!
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's go. So maybe the next game will be better. Even if better doesn't mean anything.
Then we will see. The bar is so low, next thing you know, it's just going to be like underground. You won't be able to see the bar. It's so low.
I wonder if they like do this on purpose. The thing with PLA is like I feel like if they released it at a time when Pokemon was like not that bad, people would probably not love it as much because it's just. But like I wonder if they're just kind of setting the bar lower and lower, so when they release like normal games, everyone's like, oh my god, this is the best. This is the best game ever. So like they'll release like Gen 10 and it's like a 7 out of 10 game, but it will better by comparison.
I think the trouble too is like Game Freak has like 100 and something employees, if I recall correctly.
But they have 2 teams, so it's like split into groups of 50 pretty much.
Right, but like think about it. Game Freak, I almost feel bad for them because they've tried making other things. They've tried making other games. Many of them were not good. Some of them showed potential, but I think hardly anyone even knows that Game Freak makes other games, and making the same serialized game every year constantly, with like the same team of like 60 people, that's got to be exhausting.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that's the main reason why the quality suffers is if every time the game is released in a worse and worse state. We see constant articles saying that morale at Game Freak is at an all-time low. That's not going to reflect that well on the next games, It's just how far will we go in this cycle, How far can they really go?
Yeah, I mean, they're also not only are they tapped dry in terms of making games, but they have to be they have to be like out of creativity at this point too. Like how many times can you do the whole like new generation based off of some European country and then 3 starters and it's like always like a cat is one of them. It's like how many times are we gonna do this, guys? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
it does raise questions. That's probably why PLA is actually like a passion project. Because they're actually like, oh my god, something different, let's go.
Yeah. I do hope the Legends series continues.
Me too.
I do hope they make some improvements on the formula, obviously.
They can even...
I would love if Legends actually took a more like cinematic Pokemon approach,
Yeah. They just need more time and money.
Here's my opinion.
Not being owned by Pokemon Company.
My opinion on the matter is if they don't even make a Legends game, quote unquote, anymore, but Gen 10 is like basically like a new generations, but it's Legends. I think that's what I'm kind of rooting for. I almost don't want there to be 2 separate series anymore, you know? Because I want them to just make one good game every 3 years. And then, next year's some DLC, and then 2 years from then is like the next generation. And just incorporate what worked in Legends and put it into Scarlet and Violet. Like, if you put auto-battling in Scarlet and Violet, or in PLA, and also make the story better from Scarlet and Violet, you're going to have a really good game. So I almost don't want there to be 2 different series, but they won't, because you know what? They like Christmas and they like selling 10 million copies. Although PLA didn't come out at Christmas, so whatever. I don't know.
Get your team of 50 or 60 people. Get Bandai Namco or get Monolith Soft. Get someone to help you out. Not Ilka. Maybe I'm mean. Maybe I don't. We just do not know the potential of Ilka. Did they make any other games besides BDS?
Pokemon Home.
Okay, great.
I think they've made they're a porting company from what I've read. What I would compare Ilka to, this is kind of mean. I would compare them to Grove Street Games that Rockstar hired to make GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. It's kind of mean, but I also think it's a fair comparison, because it's on them, but the company who's giving the money also doesn't really care, So it's kind of on them still. It's kind of on Game Freak more for hiring Ilka instead of Game Freak, who has the money, just spending more time on it, So Ilka's kind of almost a scapegoat, because I'm sure they would, they just got a paycheck at the end of the day.
Yeah. I feel like the Pokemon Company CEOs might be the greediest CEOs of all time, honestly.
I think they're the only people who are happy. All the employees have to be depressed and burnt out.
You literally have infinite time and money to make games that people would actually want, but you still choose not to purely because you want your bottom line to be higher. It's that's really interesting. It's you could just put in the money to make good games. You literally could. You just choose not to. It's alright.
You could hire more employees,
Yeah, you could hire more.
It would be so easy. Obviously, I have to say this. I'm not a CEO of a company, but it doesn't take a genius to understand, if you're, the most established franchise of all time, just get more people to help out, and then customer satisfaction raises, employee morale raises, thus meaning more money for you. I mean, it's not that hard, I don't see why
The thing about billionaires, it's listen, it's 10, let's say you 10 billion versus, you get 10 billion for making the yearly games versus you make 5 billion. You're oh, it's so much less money, and it's 5 billion is a lot of money still. You don't need that extra money. 5 billion is still enough to make all the employees happy. It's still enough to make good games, and your customers will probably be more loyal to you in the end. Because what can happen if you just keep releasing crap, just like Atari and Sega and when they were consoles, is people might buy it at first, but I guarantee you if Scarlet and Violet, they release another game and it's like that again, sales will eventually decline. They will eventually decline, which is kind of a bold take because it's Pokemon. But I do look at
it. I mean, it isn't the first time a giant series has crumpled when due to mismanagement. And again, sales numbers don't mean everything. I mean, look at Sticker Star. I think it's still one of the best-selling Paper Mario games.
the best-selling one.
But then the series took a nosedive, which still hasn't recovered. Paper Mario Color Splash sold abominably. It's rare. You know how expensive Paper Mario Color Splash is? You'd expect it to be $10, because no one liked it. No, it's still full price because no one bought it.
Yeah.
No one bought it,
It's kind of like Banana. To go back to Monkey Ball, it's kind of like Banana Blitz.
Yeah, well, the temporary highs of sales, distracted them for the fact that it immediately crumbled the entire series afterwards. So they just see oh, this game's so well, let's remake it on the Nintendo Switch. It's great.
Yeah. So
if they don't see that, yeah.
I guess we'll wrap it up. Unless you guys have anything else to say.
I think we ranted enough about corporations.
If you want 2 more,
I know when Ninja and Jeff start ranting about corporations and CEOs, and it's not in the podcast.
Yeah, we've gone too far.
We do this in the E podcast every episode as well, where we just like
we always have to mention Sonic. Like Monkey Ball Adventure always has to come up for 10 minutes.
We always.
I always it's my doom of Damocles. I have to always bring up Monkey Ball Adventure or I die,
Alright.
So
I fade into the ether.
I'm going to put all your links in the description, but each of you tell everyone where they can find your YouTube videos and stuff.
YouTube.com/Cardino.
YouTube.com/NinjaStarCompass. Alright.
Yep. YouTube.com/JeffCompass. Anyway, that's why you're here.
Alrighty.
That's where you came from.
Let's go.
Alright. Thank you, everyone. I guess. I don't know how to end the podcast, so
Good night, Gracie.
good night, and see you next month.
Gaming.